Let's talk about Origin, because we don't know the answers to any of that. Do we know the answers of what's going to happen tonight, Webby? Can you crystal ball what's going to unfold?
Well, if I know anything about Origin, it's that it always goes to script. So New South Wales are without their halfback, their hooker, their strike centre. They've got They've barely. I was talking to people within the team a couple of days ago. They said they've barely trained. They barely had a ball work session together. I think like yesterday, the captain's run was the first time because they had Cameron Murray and Liam Martin there actually ready to go. So it's the first time they've had a full, proper ball work session. It's only a captain's run, really, anyway. So, of course, New South Wales are going to upset them and win by 2 points. I've highlighted all these stats.
Yes.
All these stats have come up. All these stats have come up, right, in the last few days about what New South Wales do in game 2 and, about losing the first game. For mine, there is one stat that really matters, and that's the fact that only once have they lost the opening game of the series and then won in Brisbane, and that was 1998 when they had Laurie Daly and Andrew Johns in the halves. They had Jeff Tuvey at hooker and Brad Fiddler at the back of the scrum. Some team. So that was one of the all-star teams who beat one of the all-star Queensland teams as well. They still lost the series, but it's the only time they've kept a series alive when having to win in Brisbane in game 2. That's a pretty big ask. So if they win tonight, it'll go down as possibly the greatest New South Wales victory in 43 years of Origin.
It'd have
to rank up there.
Yeah, and it has to be that kind of performance, doesn't it? To do what they're going to do is a monumental task, an absolutely monumental task. I heard Liam Martin interviewed yesterday by Maggie and Fletch on the run home, and he's such a cool character, isn't he?
Maggie's getting around, isn't he?
Yeah, I know. Everywhere.
He is like the
captain everywhere.
He is the definitive number 14. He's just slotting in.
If Paddy Cummins is captain victory, James, the missile Magnuson, is captain everywhere.
Maybe they should pick him. New South Wales should pick him on the bench. He'd go all right too.
He'd go all right.
He could play back row. He could play centre.
Yeah. He could
Wing?
out-leap Lindsay Collins.
Absolutely.
That's how tall Missile is.
What's
happened to this program this morning?
I don't know.
See, Origin 2's just completely bamboozled and kerfuffled us. Mitchell Moses, his role tonight, I've heard Brandy say a few times, very different to the last time he played, much more mature person, much more mature player, and all that's would be bang on. His role's going to be huge, isn't it? Does it change the way that the entire New South Wales system runs?
I think he just needs to play his natural game and be the organising, controlling halfback that he has shown in the last few years for Parramatta. I think the criticism of him not being able to aim up in a big game has been unfair to a degree. I know he didn't do it in the grand final. I know he didn't do it in that Origin when he was obviously played injured as well. But that preliminary final against the Cowboys last year, when no one really gave Parramatta much hope up in Townsville, he had the birth of his daughter on his mind. It was like his partner was minutes away from giving birth, and he still took the field and turned on an absolute 5-star performance and got them into the grand final. So he knows how to play with pressure. I think Freddie's faith in him will help him enormously, but that's the big storyline out of the game, whether Mitchell Moses can withstand the blowtorch of Queensland up there. Look, we get focused on New South Wales. This is some Queensland team.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're sort of diminishing just the job. I wrote about it in the Herald during the week, and again, this is not a criticism or a comparison to the New South Wales coaching team whatsoever, but the old firm of Smith, Slater and Thurston have just by virtue of the fact that they've played with some of these players, that they're only just removed from playing the game themselves, they're only just removed from playing Origin, it's turned out to be such an enormous advantage for that Queensland team. And that's just fact. That's not a dog shot of Freddie or Brandy or whoever, but that's just fact. And it's worked to their advantage. They seem to be able to, just as they were able to predict what was going to happen in matches, as players are doing the same thing as coaches. And that's what worries me the most up there tonight, from a New South Wales perspective. What about the build-up? It's been a very defensive from New South Wales.
It's been different. We discussed this last week, and you wrote about it as well. So it's been a different build-up. I get I get that sometimes people can be defensive because circumstances change and jobs are on the line and pressure's enormous. And I don't know if we've had such buy-in from State of Origin for such a long time. I mean, it's just this groundswell of everyone's opinions that just doesn't stop. Has it been a weird build-up for you, or is it just a different one completely?
I haven't enjoyed it at all, to be honest, from a media point of view. But, who cares how, reporters' egos getting bruised. I don't think the punters out there really care. But for me, it's just the way how defensive New South Wales have been. Their coaching staff have been in terms of their public persona. If that's how they are acting within, if that's where all their energy is, also within the camp, I think that's a bit of a worry. But I think I said on this show last week, siege mentality is all well and good as long as you win the siege. So we'll see if the ends justify
the means
tonight.
Well, I wanted to actually raise siege mentality because I think
the Des Hasler playbook.
Well, I think it's really interesting, and I always go back to when I think siege mentality. I go back to Leighton Hewitt. Leighton Hewitt, especially when he was in Australia at the Australian Open, just had to pick a fight with anyone.
Oh yeah,
and everyone. It didn't matter who it was, car park attendant, whatever. Just give me a fight because that's what I've got to...
Nick Kyrgios is the same.
Nick Kyrgios is the same. So
there's a pattern emerging here.
There...
Narcissistic tennis players.
So no. So do you think that New South Wales might benefit from the fact that they just need to be, perhaps they need to be in this siege mentality? And it doesn't, like you say, bruised egos from journalists, so what?
I get it. But I hope they've got something more than that up their sleeve.
Mm.
They might need some tactics as well.
Yeah.
And a better style of play, and a better and a more cohesive attack than they had in Adelaide. To me, that was a concerning thing. The fact that they had so much ball and so much territory and still couldn't get it done when they had a one-man advantage in the last 12 minutes, or 10 minutes.
And the other parties, we do have to remember on all that how close it was. Who's the danger man? Who's the danger man for both sides? Who's the guy that can bust it open for Queensland? Who's the guy that can bust it open or seal it for New South Wales?
Oh, Munster. I think he's the bigger the game, the bigger performance that he produces. I know that's stating the obvious, but for New South Wales, I'm really interested to see how Tedesco backs up after what happened in Origin 1. There's been so much there's been so much talk around his game in Game 1. I did a piece on Tedesco on the weekend for the Herald, and I spoke to the likes of Luke Keary and Trent Robinson, and Robbo just said, look, the criticism was warranted. And it wasn't so much what he did with the ball.
Well, Teddy said that too.
Yeah, but exactly. But it wasn't so much what he did with the ball. But I'd expect Teddy to do that, He's the only one who's handled the criticism of James Tedesco. The best has been James Tedesco. But as Robinson said to me in this piece on Saturday, he said he got caught out defensively a few times, and that's just not Teddy. So it'd be interesting to see if he tidies up those parts of his game.
Okay, so Munster the key for Queensland.
Munster and Tedesco, there you go. That's breaking news.
Yeah, I know, but that's State of Origin. And the other thing I think we can safely say, it's going to be tight again. It's just so tight at the moment. It comes down to those moments.
I hope so. I'm hoping it's a close game. I'm just worried that once Queensland got on a roll up there, they're very hard to reel in.
Mm.
I do find it hilarious that they've been talking about Queensland complacency. Like former players saying that's the only thing that can stop us. Do you really think Billy Slater will let that creep into his team?
I don't know how you be complacent in that arena anyway.
No.
I just don't. And I don't know how you look at a professional footballer these days, and especially a professional footballer who's playing State of Origin, no less, and the word complacency even comes into it.
Let's just hope at the end of it we can just get the Johns boys back together. There can be peace in our time.
It's a miracle. You're a miracle.
I will serve as Kofi Annan, and I will get them.
You, my friend,
I will be the peacekeeper that gets them together.
Are a miracle worker.
Good.
Yeah,
I believe in miracles.
You are in the middle of it, though. I mean,
I am in the middle of it. You know what I'm getting sick of? People asking me about it.
No kidding,
on the street.
Sherlock.
They're just dragging me aside.
I know.
Tell me, is it real? Is it just publicity?
Hey,
Joey's not on the show. That's not.
I had to do the show on Friday, right? So I did
because we were off.
Because you guys were off. So what do you reckon?
Why didn't you ask me on?
Hang on, mate. I don't try and I don't buy into other people's programs. I just host them for them when they're not there. So I spent most of the 3 hours saying to people, and it made the news it made the news that because I came up off the very top of the show and said no morning glory today. By the way,
and everyone thought it was.
By the way, no. I explained it clearly. By the way, this is pre-planned. Maddie's got a fundraiser to do. I was asked weeks ago, so it's got nothing to do. I can't argue. I can't answer whether Joey's going to be back or not. So it was there, no problems. So I spent most of my time doing that, and then Monday, Maddie's crook.
Oh,
yeah. Texts me in the
he's
morning.
running.
Texts me in the morning and says I'm crook. So I spend most of Monday then defending.
So when it was Manny, he was on Tuesday, was he?
No, he wasn't on.
Oh, I thought he was on.
No. So
What
you're
show did I see him talking on?
not mine.
You know what? When you Matthew Johns and you're like you've got your fingers in so many
Captain
places.
everywhere. Yeah.
He's everywhere.
Give me your tips then for this. First of all, give me your tip for tonight.
New South Wales by 2.
And man of the match. Who decides it? Well,
I'll say
if it's that close, anyone could be man of the
I'll
match.
say James Tedesco. There you go.
Okay.